Chapter 10, Fleeing the Dark. The cabin was quiet now, but Daniel knew the silence was a lie. The shadows had claimed what they wanted. Mom and Dad were gone. There was no time to grieve, only to survive. Daniel grabbed Lily's hand, clutching it as tightly as he could without hurting her. She didn't resist. Her eyes were wide and her small body was trembling with every step they took together. She had no tears, shock, too scared to even cry for what they lost. "Danny," she whispered in a raw voice, "are we going home now?" He looks at her and nods his head. It's hard to speak when the tears are so close to his throat. With a little effort and climbing, they get to the door. He eased open what was left of the door. Outside, the forest pressed dark and eerily silent, the branches clawing at the air. Every shadow between the trees seemed alive and watching. The ground was slick with dew and mud. The smell hit Daniel first, acrid, metallic, like blood mixed with rot. His stomach turned, but he forced himself to move. Lily followed closely behind him. She found her rabbit, and he looked not the same anymore, but she still clutched him to her chest for comfort. The first branch snapped under his feet. The sound ricocheted across the trees, and they both froze. The forest did not respond. Daniel helped Lily into the back seat and buckled her in. Then he walked around to the driver's side and climbed in. He turned the key. Nothing. The engine didn't even try. He tried again and again, but still no sound, no life in the car. Daniel swallowed hard, forcing down the anger rising in his chest. He couldn't afford to lose control. He had to be strong. They are going to have to walk. What? How far is the nearest town? He can't remember. Daniel gets out of the car and helps Lily. "Danny, what now?" "Sorry, Lily, the car won't start. We need to try walking and see if we can get a signal for my phone or maybe run into a small town." "But I'm tired, Danny." "I know, my little bug, I'm so sorry, but let's try. I don't want to be here after dark." Daniel took Lily's tiny hand, and with that, they started walking. The road looked so long, but they started their journey in silence. The silence pressed too heavily. Every rustle in the grass and every snap of twigs and gravel beneath their shoes made Daniel flinch. He kept glancing over his shoulder, half expecting to see those things gliding out of the dark again. He is so tired, but sleep is just impossible. They need to get out of here. Daniel froze, with pins and needles in his whole body. He saw the road behind them shimmer, not with heat, but with movement, shapes stretching unnaturally across the path. Dark as night, arms were bending at impossible angles as if the night itself had grown fingers and it was turning the day into dark. They are still in the morning. Why are these things keeping hunting them? So what if Lily saw them first? She is just a kid. They have been hunted for death because the shadows don't like it. "Danny," Lily's voice trembled. "Don't look, little bug," he whispered. "This way." He tugged her small hand and dragged her off the road into the trees. The branches clawed at them immediately, the thorns catching on their clothes and their skin, but it didn't matter. The open road was death, and the forest, at least, gave them a bit of cover, he hoped. Behind them, the movement flitted between trunks. They are pale shapes, impossibly tall and thin, shadows that didn't obey physics. They glided closer and stopped when Daniel turned sharply, only to resume their pursuit when he focused ahead again. Lily stumbled. Daniel caught her just before she fell. His knee was scraped, blood running dark into the mud. "Can you walk?" he whispered. She nodded, but she was trembling and her legs betrayed her. "Keep moving and don't look back." The whispering grew louder, more insistent. "Daniel, Daniel, Lily." Lily, it slithered through the trees, around the roots, and through the mist. Hours or minutes, he had no sense of time. The forest seemed endless, and every sound of morning was there. The call of a bird, the rush of the wind through the leaves, and the crack of a twig felt nerve-wracking, as though the forest itself was holding on to all the secrets. Every shifting patch of light between the trees seemed alive and pulsing with intent. They came to a stream, and the water glimmered under the pale wash of dawn. Daniel remembered Lily's words from before. "Think they're afraid of the water." He dragged her toward it. "Stay close," he whispered. The shadows hesitated at the edge, wavering. Tendrils reached forward and touched the surface but recoiled as if it burned them. One brushed the water briefly, then pulled back, almost deliberately. Daniel exhaled sharply. We can keep going along the waters." The forest closed in around them, thick with mist curling up from the ground like smoke. Branches clawed at their faces as they pushed through. Daniel stumbled over a root, twisting his ankle. Pain shot up his leg, sharp and deep, but there was no time to stop. He bit his lip, swallowed the curse that wanted out, and forced himself onward. Behind them, a low rumble began. The shapes and shadows moved between the shafts of pale light, circling and flanking them, trying to box them in. A tendril lashed out and it struck Daniel across the shoulder. The sharp and cold burning like frost. He screamed and stumbled, dragging Lily with him. "Danny," she shrieked. He grabbed a fallen branch and swung blindly. It passed through the tendril harmlessly. The shadows didn't hesitate. Another tendril lashed at Lily and grazed her arm, tearing her sleeve and skin. She screamed, and Daniel caught her just in time, but the pain made her cry. They were learning from every move, and Daniel realized with a sick twist in his stomach, the shadows are perfect predators. The shadows didn't falter. They surged forward and glided across the undergrowth like water. A massive figure stretched across the clearing, its limbs elongated and faceless. It stopped just short of the stream for a moment, and Daniel thought they were safe. Then one tendril lashed towards them, going straight for Lily. She screamed and ducked, hitting the ground hard. Daniel's heart lurched. He lunged and pulled her up, dragging her through the stream. The cold bit at his legs, but it was safety compared to the shadows on the banks. Exhausted and bleeding, shivering from shock and cold going through their bodies, and both knew there was no safety, not in the forest or in the water. The shadows were intelligent and adaptable. They didn't tire. At one point, Daniel tripped over a root and fell face first into the mud. Lily screamed, and a shadow surged toward them. Daniel forced himself to stay still to hold his panic in check. The tendril passed inches from his face, recoiled and withdrew. "Move," he whispered hoarsely, gripping her hand. "Keep moving." They ran again, but with hard movement because of the mud sucking at their feet, and it was so cold and wet, gnawing at their bones. The sun was well above the trees now, burning through the mist. Golden shafts of light speared between the branches and stripped the forest floor. For a moment, the brightness seemed to push the shadows back, scattering them to the edges of sight, as if the day itself could hold them at bay. But the forest has a lot of dark corners for them to wait. Daniel dared to hope maybe the worst was over and past. Maybe they had survived this horrifying morning and last night. But then the shapes stirred again, stretching thin against the sunlight and bending around it, refusing to vanish. The daylight didn't destroy them, and it only revealed how patient they truly were. Then he heard it, a scream from deep in the forest. His stomach churned. "Mom, Dad." The scream was abruptly cut off, replaced by an unnatural silence. The death was followed by them. The shadows were carrying their parents with them. The forest was not a sanctuary, it was a hunting ground for him and Lily. They are the prey and the shadows are the hunters, and the hunt is far from over. Lily clung to him, small and fragile. Her legs were cut and bleeding. Mud coated her hair and arms, and Daniel's own injuries throbbed. "We have to keep moving," he whispered. "I'm scared, Danny." "I know, little bug," he said, forcing his voice steady. "I'm scared too, but we have to." The shadows retreated slightly with the sunlight, but Daniel knew it was temporary. They had survived, yes, but at a terrible cost. The family is gone. Their parents were killed or taken. He doesn't know what the shadows did with Mom and Dad. They are already injured, and the fear is crippling them. The forest is a nightmare, and the shadows had learned everything they needed to know. Daniel squeezed Lily's hand. "We just have to survive the next night too, little bug. I promise I'll keep you safe." Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. The forest was quiet. The sunlight was beginning to weaken, and somewhere just beyond the edge of vision, the shadows waited.